Hey guys, Nathan here for a BNG special. I don't usually do movie reviews on a basis like this, and I don't really do them at all. I've probably done one or two in the past with Curse of Chucky and such, but today I'm here to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Rise of Electro, known in some markets such as Australia, where I'm from. But this movie was amazing, just like the title suggests. And before I say anything, if there is one movie you need to see this year, it is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Rise of Electro, known in some countries. Enough of me that. I'm just going to say, before I get into any details or anything, there is a huge spoiler alert coming up, so if you don't want anything spoiled, I suggest you get off this video right now, but thanks for the view. I mean, it means a lot. I mean, it gets my reputation up a bit, so, yeah, if you don't want the movie spoiled, I suggest you hop off now. Otherwise, if you're a spoiler nerd, whatever, keep listening. But the movie goes for basically you're sitting there for about 142 minutes, and by the way, I actually saw it in an advanced screening in 3D in one of the gold class screens, so one of the advanced, rich, sort of classier ones. It's like bigger and more sound and speakers and all that shit. Yeah. So basically, it goes for about 2.5 hours. It does seem like a long time because it's 2 hours 20 minutes, but just compare it to Avengers and stuff, it actually goes really quick because it keeps you on your seat. Basically, you're going to be interested 24/7. You're going to be looking there, looking one way, looking another, and you're going to be constantly thinking about what's going to happen next and what's just happened and all this shit. But it is really interesting. It is a really interesting movie. So here to talk about the plot. Basically, Peter is still learning about the origins and the past about his parents, which weren't explored in the original series made by Sam Raimi, which could have been a lot more detailed, which I think was quite a disappointment back then. But in this movie, his background is more properly explored, and it turns out that his parents were actually employees for Oscorp and did have something to do along with Norman Osborn, who is in it at the start, but he unfortunately dies due to some disease or some shit. They had something to do with the radioactive spider that later bites Peter in the first movie, and that's how he becomes the Amazing Spider-Man. So basically he finds that, but I think Norman, from my understanding, I could be wrong here, I think Norman turns on him or something and makes it look like he's responsible for a disease that's going to be happening or some shit like that. And so Richard Parker, not the tiger from Life of Pi, I'm talking about Richard Parker as in Peter's dad, and Mary Parker, I think it's Mary Parker, they basically go on a plane to get away from everything because everyone's going to be thinking of Richard Parker as some monster, and basically what I think it's got something to do with some task named Roosevelt, which I'll talk to you about in a sec. But yeah, they board a plane, and the pilot, or there's some co-pilot, I think he shoots the pilot, and they die in a plane crash, never to be seen again. And that's why Peter, of course, he's already with Aunt May and Uncle Ben, safe and sound, not knowing anything about his parents, basically looking up to his auntie and uncle as a mother and dad figure. So yeah, and basically in the present day, we see Spider-Man basically in pursuit of someone hijacking an Oscorp truck carrying plutonium. This man's not known, he's just got a Russian accent, and that, of course, he saves the day, makes it in time to his high school graduation, Mrs. Gwen's speech, of course, which is quite emotional. And basically, that man is just presumed to have gone to prison and everything. After years away, basically, Harry Osborn comes back from boarding school, to see his dad dying, which is Norman Osborn, played by Chris Cooper. You may have seen him in the Muppet movie, doing the maniacal laugh. You'll know what I'm talking about. He's basically there to be the heir of Oscorp Industries, because he's there to take over his dad's role, and basically Norman explains to Harry that his illness that he's dying from is genetic, and that Harry is going to catch it about the age that he was, and so he actually learns that he's actually also dying as well. Harry believes that Spider-Man has that sort of the blood that he needs that can save himself, and because Harry and Peter are best friends, he unaware that he's Spider-Man, he tells Peter that if he can get Spider-Man to help him out because he's a photographer, but he tells him no, and then Spider-Man also comes and tells him no, and so Harry becomes angry with Spider-Man and wants to kill him. That's one branch of the story. On another branch, Max Dillon, who is an absolute nobody, he's an electrical engineer for Oscorp Industries, Basically, we see him at the very start of the movie when Spider-Man is getting the plutonium truck rescued by this mysterious man. Basically saves him in front of a taxi. Max Dillon is an absolute loser, played by Jamie Foxx, did a wonderful job. He's pretty much an absolute loser. Nobody knows him. Nobody cares about him. Spider-Man finally knows him and sees him as somebody. Like he basically be's nice to him and gives it, like, knows his name and says that he needs him, makes him feel wanted in the world, and so he starts worshipping him. Max Dillon then eventually, still a nobody, goes to Oscorp, needs to fix some power thing, and basically zaps himself, electrocutes himself, falls about 10 stories, lands in some electrical eel pool in the secret lab of the Oscorp building, and that's where he becomes a lecturer. Basically goes out not knowing what's happened to him. He's just sort of, at the morgue he basically escapes from that because he resurrects, not knowing what he actually looks like. He goes to Times Square trying to find someone. The cops are suspicious of him because he feeds on electricity pretty much, and he gets into a battle with Spider-Man. As the cops then try to shoot him, and he thinks Spider-Man's responsible for that. So basically we have two people going after Spider-Man now. Eventually those two people team up and basically try to kill him. What happens is Harry eventually teams up with Elektra, and they kidnap one of the employees or the chairman of Oscorp, I think, and go to some secret lab where they find all this stuff set up for Green Goblin, I think. So like the Goblin lab. And basically he finds the cure that can cure him from his disease, and turns into some green disease thing, but he's okay. That's how he basically becomes the Green Goblin himself, and wants to basically get Spider-Man. So with all that, basically they shut off all the power in the city. Spider-Man, of course, saves the day, but then an unlikely twist comes as Harry, now as the Green Goblin, knows that Spider-Man is Peter, kidnaps Gwen. They have come to a fierce battle in the clock tower of the city, where sort of Gwen's sort of in the middle. They're basically fighting over her. Like, he wants to kill her, he wants to save her. Gwen falls to the bottom of the tower. Peter tries to save her, but unfortunately her head cracks, her neck cracks, and in a very emotional scene, she dies. So, yeah, that's the main spoiler of the movie, I was going to say. Also, with that was where, originally when, I think you might have heard last year or something, Mary Jane was going to have a small role in Spider-Man 2. I think that's where she would have come in after that, because Gwen is now dead. But I think they cut that off because it would have felt like he moved on too quick, or it's sort of one dies, another girl pops up. I think it would have been too soon, so they're saving that for the next movie. And basically, Spider-Man, he stops being Spider-Man for about 6 months, and Harry is actually still alive. A mysterious man who was the mysterious figure in the first movie and came and talked to Lizard, Kurt Connors, he comes back, talks to Harry, and says that they're going to need somebody to take over some mysterious role in some robotic suit, and that's where Rhino comes in, and the man actually turns out to be the man that was stealing the plutonium at the start of the movie. I don't know how to pronounce his name, I apologize for that. But, yeah, that basically leaves a cliffhanger, and he must return to Spider-Man, and that basically, I think, sets up the next movie. So without that, I think the movie was absolutely amazing. I'd honestly give it a 9 out of 10. Only problem I had with it, I think they could have showed Spider-Man a little bit more, because a lot of it focuses on Peter's actual life. I think it could have shown maybe Spider-Man saving just random people, like small little events like the original first movie did, but that's not a problem. I mean, it was definitely watchable. Very, very, very good, which I absolutely loved. Action scenes, I give it a 10 out of 10. The action and the CGI special effects, and Electro, like the way they changed Electro's normal costume in favour for a modern look, was absolutely incredible. One of the best villain looks I've ever seen in movie history, or in Marvel of that case. I'd say he's probably the best looking villain in all Marvel movies to this day. Basically, so everyone's thinking that there's 3 villains in this. Really, Rhino's only in it for about 4 minutes, basically setting up Spider-Man 3, as he will be in the Amazing Spider-Man 3. You'll see all that at the end. I mean, basically it shows them fighting, but then it doesn't show what happens. So I'm not really sure about that. Also, stay for the credits, because there is a scene where it shows a scene for X-Men Days of Future Past, which sets up that movie. And there also is a scene where it shows Eddie Brock being hired by JJ at the Daily Bugle and walks out with a sinister smile on his face. So yeah, very good. So watch this movie, guys. If there is one movie you need to see this year, it is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. No joke about that. Also, without further ado, watch it in 3D. Do not pirate this movie. Watch it in 3D at the cinema. It's a movie you have to see on the big screen. I'm not joking here. I wouldn't be saying that if I was joking. But watch it in the best way you can. And enjoy, guys. So I hope you enjoyed my review. If you guys like my movie reviews, I'll be back to do some more blockbusters in when the time comes. But without further ado, thanks for watching and listening, really. And enjoy the movie. I'd love to hear your feedback about it, what you thought. If you agree with me, disagree with me, and share your thoughts. So just be free to share some comments here. We love to hear from all of you guys. And yeah, enjoy Spider-Man 2. Latest, guys. Nathan Lee out.